And I've had the opportunity to speak at some academy graduations and stuff like that, or at their like use of force day, whatever you call it, and talk to some of these kids and tell them that like it's not about you. It's about you and the guy next to you, their family, your family, and hopefully that gets to some people. Because yeah, I've buried brothers, and I've seen their families, I've seen their children cry, I've seen their wives cry, I've held them, and it's a shitty feeling. It truly is, and I don't wish that upon anybody. But if there is an opportunity for you to not have to go through that, for you to change that, and all it takes is an hour a day, 30 minutes a day, I don't care if it's 10 minutes a day, doing something, being a little faster, a little stronger, a little better at shooting, a little better at fighting, or just mentality, that's, you can alter that 2-year-old's life that just lost his dad, that 8-year-old's life, who's going to have to grow up without him. Maybe you can, maybe you can't, maybe it's just inevitable, maybe it's a stray bullet, maybe it's just a lucky shot. But if it's a fight and this guy's getting his gun because you don't know what to do, I know I couldn't live with myself. So.
Welcome to the Transition Drill Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Pantiani. I appreciate you taking the time to watch, so let's get into this. Have you always had that entrepreneurial drive?
Actually, I haven't, no. This is something that's come to me recently. Once I got out of the military, I kind of needed to find another purpose. Yeah, I found my new employment, my new career, but I feel like I still needed to be connected to the military. And that's kind of why I started my page in the first place, and then moving on that same year to start Ruck for Vets as a fundraising element. It wasn't even a nonprofit for the last 5 years. This is the first year. It's actually a 501c3. But it's something that just, I don't know, just kind of came.
So not like as a kid growing up, did you have mentors in your life that were their own business owners or really kind of had something for you to model yourself after?
No, my mentors in my life, it's an interesting story, because like my dad was in and out of jail my entire life, so I didn't really have that fatherly figure for a long time. So I didn't really have these big time mentors, as a child. I had my grandfather. He was prior Navy. He was in the Korean War. He took care of my family pretty much up until my stepfather came along. And then, he took care of the family, working 6 days a week. And then I had an uncle who was a Marine who watched me on the weekends with my cousin. And that was great. Like he taught me, him and my grandfather both taught me things like shooting, camping, hunting, just skateboarding, all the little things, all the man things. But it's funny, like you say, like mentors. I've recently kind of started thinking about like all the other individuals I had in my life, like my baseball coaches, my football coaches, stuff like that. Guys that picked me up from practice because they knew my mom couldn't get me to practice. I was like really thankful for them. As an adult now, like looking back on it, like they were mentors too. They taught me, whatever it was. And yeah, like that was pretty much my mentors. Nobody that was a business owner, everybody just worked 9 to 5 for the most part. Some prior military, no police officers, anything like that, so it was just your average dudes.
Where is hometown for you, or where'd you grow up?
Torrance, California.
And growing up, what was your life like? You mentioned sports. Were you heavy into sports as a kid?
Yeah, so I grew up playing baseball. That was kind of like my sport. Yeah, I played my whole life all the way up until 12th grade till leaving high school. So I played baseball. That's where I met a lot of my good friends growing up, my best friends. And then a little bit of football. I did some wrestling. Kind of dabbled in everything, When Kobe Bryant was big, I was showing up early to school trying to do the Kobe moves. In middle school, ride my bike. I used to ride my bike 5 miles to school, like in the snow, but not really. It was just
Southern California snow.
Yeah. I'd ride my bike early, like at school. School started at 8. I get there like 6:30 so I could play basketball, But always an active kid. Always had a lot of energy.
Student-wise, good in school or?
Not for a long time. Up until I think it was freshman year, they were going to hold me back. And this is like first semester, second semester. Right before second semester, a teacher approached me and said, "Hey man, like if you get held back, it's just makes you look like a loser, dude. It really does." Like he's like, "That's not the way you want to go." And he's like, "You're not a bad kid." Like I didn't drink, I didn't do any drugs or anything like that. I was just kind of troubled, because of my upbringing. My dad in and out of jail. my mom was a bartender. She did what she could to help us, and I'm looking back on it. At the time, as a teenager, I'm like, it's embarrassing, Mom, you're a bartender, but she was doing what she could. She didn't have a high school degree. Is making money for the family, keeping a roof over our heads, clothing on our backs. I always had good shoes, so she did what she could. But I was troubled. But then after he talked to me, I was like, all right, let's unfuck ourselves pretty much, so I did. And then went from barely a 2.0 to like a 3.5, and then graduated with 3.8. Ended up getting a master's degree when I was 28 years old, so.
Don't rush ahead in the script. The idea, though, of when you say you were troubled, was it that you were getting into trouble, or you were just kind of indifferent about being a good student or being a good kid?
I didn't like authority. That was kind of it. I didn't like authority. I didn't like being told what to do. I had bad attitude. I had a chip on my shoulder, blamed everything on my dad and blamed everything on my mom, and kind of brought that with me, and also just a little bit of a hyperactive kid too. So, I always wanted to be like the loudmouth or the smartass in class to make people laugh. Maybe, I don't know, looking back on it, maybe I just didn't have the attention I needed at home, so it was like reaching out for something. But yeah, that was kind of it.
What was your plan for adulthood while you were a kid? What were you thinking you were going to do after high school?
No idea. I went back and forth. I was like, once I started getting good grades, I was like, oh, okay, maybe psychology, veterinarian, maybe I want to be a doctor. My senior year, actually, I got accepted to this program at UCLA Medical School where I could go it was like a 2-week program, NYLF, National Youth Leadership Forum on Medicine. I got accepted to that, and I was like, okay, maybe I could be somebody, And when I started college, I was like, oh, no idea. I was like, biology, what do I take? Psychology? No idea, so.
You're like, I've not been paying attention in school. How the hell do I know what to do?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't the military. That never crossed my mind when I was in, K through 12.
Was law enforcement ever a consideration for you as a kid?
Not during that time period. After I left high school, it was kind of something I wanted to do. I started working as parking enforcement with a local department and saw these guys, and I was like, these guys are awesome. I looked up to them, what they were doing, the gang unit, SWAT guys and all the cool guys on patrol. I was like, man, this is kind of a cool job, looks fun. So I was doing the parking enforcement thing. I had my mag light, what else did I have? I had like a boot knife or something.
You were cool.
Oh, I was so badass. I was so badass. Walk around my mag light, like checking cars, like registration's expired. People hated me so much.
What was the catalyst to get you into that? I mean, was it just something like a job opening popped up and you applied for it, or?
Yeah, a friend at the time was doing it and said, like, hey, this is not bad pay, and it's also something, if you're interested, you can kind of like lead you into law enforcement. I was like, yeah, sure. I was working at, I think, Barnes & Noble at the time. So, book selling wasn't really my thing. So I was looking for something else, I was in the science and nature section, trying to sell people books on reptiles. I'm good.
I could see you just sitting in there going like, hey, yeah, this is a really good book. What's it about? I have no clue.
Yeah. I used to
what does the title say?
I used to look at the Stephen Hawking's books, and I was like, man,
those are some big ass words.
What the hell is going on? Like, for real.
So then what was the catalyst to go in the military?
I really had no choice. It was kind of like I needed to do something with my life. And I ran into another friend whose brother had joined the National Guard, Army National Guard, and he was like, hey, man, this is a good deal. Like, it's paying for my college now. Because that was kind of my thing. I was like, I can't afford college. Like, I did one semester, and my entire family, pitched in money to get me through the semester. And it was, yeah, we couldn't afford it. So this guy was telling me all about it, and he was like, it's cool. He's like, yeah, I went in his infantry. It was kind of awesome, got to jump out of some airplanes. I got an airborne thing because I was good at PT, and I was like, all right, I'm kind of in shape. I can figure this out, I was like, I grew up shooting guns. My grandfather, who's my mentor, my uncle, who's my mentor, were both in the military. So I was like, you know what? All right, me and a buddy, actually, we're going to go in. He ended up not coming in, due to whatever personal reasons. But about 30 days later, I was on my way to boot camp on my first plane ride.
Did you look at all the branches, or was Army your first and only choice?
He was the only guy I talked to, so that was the only place I went. I didn't look at anything else. I was like, just get me out of here as soon as possible. I'm in desperate need of, I don't know, direction.
Something.
Yeah.
When you went in, what was your plan at that point in time? Were you looking at a career?
No, I didn't know what I was looking at. I was just like culture shock at first, like people yelling at me, I'm doing push-ups, not sleeping, flutter kicks in the rain. I'm like, what did I get myself into,
The guy who doesn't like authority went into the military.
Yeah. So it was a culture shock, and it was much needed because it definitely shaped me to become who I am today. Like I needed that culture shock. And, I remember like crying on the payphone to my mom. Back then we had the call cards. So call my mom for however many minutes I bought her, they sent me in the mail. And I remember crying to my mom because I wanted to go home, she's like, just tough it out. You got this, so all right, let's do it. And then when I saw them at graduation, and just how proud they were, my grandfather came out, my little brother, who I wanted to be a role model for, came out. And
how much younger than you is he?
16 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, big one. Because my stepdad and my mom, my stepdad's he's 13 years older than me. So definitely came later in life for my mom and me, but he's 18 now. So a lot of the things I did growing up, or I guess post or in adulthood, were kind of to be a role model for him. I was the first person out of my parents to graduate high school. And, going forth with all the other things, kind of like trying to lead the way for him, to show him that, it doesn't matter where you come from, like you can do whatever you want.
Well, your first enlistment was a 4-year or 6-year?
6-year.
And into that 6-year, was it right away that you kind of realized, there's more to this and I want to do more, or did it kind of come later in those 6 years?
So right when I graduated infantry school, I actually got the opportunity to go to airborne school because I was doing good in PT. I was like, we were top 5 in PT. So they sent me to airborne school. I was like, okay, there's something more than just, plain infantry, and not to say plain infantry because it's a bad thing, but just there's more than this, there's a specialized infantry unit. And then I started learning about Rangers and started learning about special forces and Delta at the time, and I was like, okay, and then maybe like a year later, I saw these guys in these like different uniforms, unbloused boots, hands in the pockets, longer hair, some cool ass gear, cool ass guns with suppressors on them. I'm just like, who are these dudes? Like, and how do I get there? And I got the opportunity to go selection, and that was awesome.
Now you're very fitness driven today, and we'll get to that, but were you driven fitness wise back then?
Not as much. No, definitely not. I did the bare minimum. I ran, I did push-ups, I did sit-ups. I don't even think I lifted weights back then. I did what I could to get me through the PT test and max it out. So that's pretty much all I did was body weight and run and ruck, and then whatever the unit put me through on PT day. So that was it. Yeah. I was not a fitness guy up until I was in the Special Forces Q course. That was kind of when I became that guy, I guess.
You mentioned that when you first went in, going through basic training, you were calling your mom like, hey, this might have been a bad decision. I don't like it here. Was it an easy then transition after you kind of got into it to accept the regiment of it and the rules and the regulations, or did you always kind of struggle with it?
It became a lifestyle, like drill and ceremony and all that stuff wasn't really for me, like ever. I was a surfer from California. Like this wasn't my thing, but it becomes a lifestyle. Once you're in, you kind of fully immerse yourself, and especially as a young guy, like when you come in, you're hua, you're gung ho, you're ready to go. So you're doing everything you can, trying to be the best, and make your uniform look good and get as many badges and awards as you can, and impress people so you can move up. So it kind of became a lifestyle.
And how many years total did you do?
I did 15 total. 14 of those were actually on a team, or not on a team, but like active. That last year is kind of just a wash year, is in active reserve. So, but on paper it's 15.
And so there was at some point, it sounds like you did cross that bridge and you're like, all right, I'm going to do my 20. I'm going to make a career out of this.
No, probably at 11, I was kind of ready to get out. So I was just doing year enlistments after that, year enlistment, until finally I was like, all right, it's time to get out.
What was the final push to just give it up, being that close to a 20-year career?
I wanted to start a family. I was married at the time, so, like leaving my wife and the house and my dogs and my family and my little brother, all the kids in my life. I was constantly gone. And, I went on 9 trips total, 4 combat and then, 5 non-combat trips, and all the schools, and just being gone all the time has kind of caught up with me. And, mental health was a big issue too. I was struggling. I was struggling with alcohol. And then, just wanting to start a family. I wanted to have kids and be around the people that, I guess, my family members, my friends that I grew up with more. So that was kind of why I was like, all right, man, it's time to go. And I'd been battling that since my 2016 deployment. I was like, all right, I'm getting out next year.
And then it would just get pushed out another year.
Then I'd go on a little rotation with my guys and realize how much I love fast roping out of helicopters and having some beers with the dudes after, and just shooting the shit about all the stuff we did for the last 10 years together. And then the next year, the same thing would happen. And it's like, it was tough, tough leaving your guys. That's why I got this tattoo right here of, the Vikings going into battle with Odin looking over them. Cause when I got out, it was just tough. I wanted to make sure that they were safe still, cause they're continuing on as I go onto a new path. And, I still battle with it today. I just talked to a friend who's the sergeant major of the special forces group I was in. And he's like, dude, we got a training spot for you, man. It's just National Guard, come in once a month or once every couple months and run the training team for us. And he's like, that's it. He's like, you don't have to deploy or anything. It's just get back in, be a part of it. So it's like, I still trying to keep a foot in, but I don't know if it's right for me. So
in hindsight, and I've heard a lot of guys who talk about being deployed multiple times and the impact that it has on their family. Could you have balanced it out better? Or what could somebody who's in the military today do to extend that career so they don't have to give it up, but still maintain that family life? Or is it just not possible?
In the unit I was in, we were high deployment rate, high. So as I was leaving, my guys were getting ready to go on a 6 to 9 month deployment to Eastern Europe and kind of train guys over there. In light of things that are going on right now, it's obvious, but I just wasn't ready to do that. It's nonstop for us. We're constantly going. Regular units, maybe you have an opportunity to move into a position where you're not so active anymore, and maybe you can save your family life or start a family life. Maybe you change your job from whatever infantry to admin or something, or become like a recruiter or something like that in order to give yourself more family time. For me, that really wasn't an option. It was either be on this team or not. Yeah. I don't think I could go from that team to another job anyway. It wasn't in me. It was either be in special forces or not. So I ended up choosing not.
At the time when you were in, were you thinking about your post-military career? Were you doing anything to make steps towards your out, so to speak?
Yeah. So I was in a National Guard Special Forces unit, and that gave me the opportunity to go to the police academy and become police officer. So I already had a career as I was getting out. And that was another reason too why I was getting out, is because right as I got off training, I ended up deploying to Afghanistan. So in order to advance and learn my job more and be safer here, I needed to be home more, because leaving for training and leaving for deployments and then coming back to work the streets, it just wasn't going to add up. And, you got to be there for your new team. So that was kind of another reason why I got out. So I had the career, but yeah, it was just, it was too much balancing both. It was like having 2 jobs, 2 careers at the same time.
Was law enforcement your first choice when you were looking to get out?
Yeah, federal law enforcement intelligence was my first choice. I had worked in DC prior, on orders, on active duty, for the Defense Intelligence Agency. So I was doing stuff already, that I wanted to do. And then when I left DC, I did some contracting in between trips, deployments. And then when I was decided to get out, I was applying with, a couple of 3-letter agencies, and I just kind of threw it out there. I was like, let me just throw out an application to the police department I worked for prior as parking. And every single one of them got back to me. And I had testing, I had polygraphs with everybody, and it kind of all aligned around the same time. So I kind of had to come to a decision on what I wanted to do. One of these agencies was leaving home again. It was pretty much doing the same job I was doing in SF, but for another agency. The second one, would bring me in on the GS level, and I didn't have a choice for where they were going to put me to live. I'd already bought a house at this point in Southern California, and I was kind of set. So I could have went through with them, but where I was going to live was like, who knows? And you tell your wife that, it's like, I don't know where we're going to live if I go through this, and the pay is not that great to start, but in 5 years I'll be getting paid good. It's like,
but the whole point of getting out was to be with your family. And now all of a sudden you're telling your wife, hey, I'm getting out, but who knows where I'm going to relocate to?
Yeah. And then finally PD got back to me, and it was local and pay was good. And it's something I'd thought about, when I was doing parking. So I was like, it's something I'd always had dear to my heart too. I always appreciated local law enforcement. So I turned down these 2 agencies that were my dream job when I was in. I was like, oh heck yeah, I'm going to work for these guys. I'm going to do some cool clandestine shit, and went with a new career, and, it worked out great. I get to be around friends and family and make good money doing it, and it's kind of aligned with what I did. Not exactly what I did in special forces, but, still have a high op tempo, if you could say that, I guess.
For your own personal well-being, has the ability to be home with now your child and have a more stable life helped you from a mental standpoint or mental health standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. I've said it before on podcasts. I've said it before in person. My kids saved my life. Like, I was in such a bad place mentally, struggling with alcohol, struggling with PTSD. Once I had my kids and I had my foundation, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. I can guarantee it. I was at that point. I was at that point where I was ready to say goodbye to everybody.
In hindsight, were you recognizing it at the time and ignoring it, or trying to ignore it, or was it not apparent?
I was ignoring it. And even when my son was born, the first 6 months, it's like kind of tough, like they're with the mother a lot, breastfeeding, stuff like that. So I felt like I was nothing for a while, but finally he got to that stage where he started recognizing me and started looking at me and, talking and moving. And that was it for me. Game over. I have to be here no matter what for the rest of my life. My dad wasn't here for me, so I had to be here for him.
Kids will do that for you, man. Kids will do that for you. We talked about your education. Not a priority to you in high school. At the tail end, it was. You've now got a master's degree. When did you turn the corner and start working towards your bachelor's?
So in 2009, one of my senior guys on my team, John, he approached me. He's like, hey, I'm getting ready to do this online degree with American Military University. He's like, it's accredited. And I'm like, online school, nobody cares about online school, Now, looking back nowadays, Everybody does online school. I'm like, oh, this isn't going to matter. Trying to get a job, you're going to look at it and be like, oh, you got an online degree, I'm like, I don't want to do it. Then next thing you know, he's like, hey, I got you signed up for some classes. I got you signed up. Here's your password. Here's everything.
Here's your books. Do it.
You got 3 classes. Your books are in the mail. They'll be here. We're in Afghanistan. The books got shipped out to Afghanistan. So in between missions, you're trying to do homework and stuff. And luckily the op tempo there wasn't like Iraq. Iraq was every night, but Afghanistan was, week-long mission, and then maybe a week off, or 3 days here, a couple of days off. So you had time to actually do it. So he forced me to start school, and then I started doing it, and we kind of pushed each other. It took me 7 years from my initial college start when I was 18 to get my degree, my bachelor's degree, and then same with John. He was at Kent State, and then same thing, took him some time because our op tempo, our deployments, our life, but eventually got it, so that's something I definitely want to tell, and I always do tell, either young military, and we talked about this, young police guys, definitely get that degree. There's no reason you can't get it. You can get it from home right now. You can have hot Cheetos and a Slurpee and be in class at the same time. You can do whatever you want. I want to say it was 5 different countries I had completed classes in. I was doing homework in a Croatian bakery that had Wi-Fi, stuff like that, just to do it. I was in Kenya at the Mount Kenya resort, training them out there, working on homework, while the guys are, out and stuff like that, but I had to get it done. So I had deadlines.
Well, that's a great example of somebody who makes an excuse about not being able to. If you can get through your degree program while you're deployed in these remote out, locations, somebody in the States could easily do it and still maintain their work-life balance.
Absolutely. And it's so affordable nowadays too. And there's so many grants out there, and, it's doable.
What was the motivation to keep going and get a master's degree?
So there's two. There's one that's serious and one that's not so serious. So the serious one was I wanted to prove to like my little brother, my nieces, my nephews, and my future kids that it's possible. It's possible to have a career. It's possible to come from where I came from and continue to push and do this all at the same time. I got it while I was still in the military. I went to the University of Southern California, and it was a year-long master's program. So it was go, go, go for a year. I had to kind of take some time off of training with my unit, stuff like that.
Is that the Marshall program?
No, so that's a business program. I went to the Price School, public policy.
Okay.
I wish I would have got a business degree. Nothing against public policy, but I wish I would have got a business degree. Looking back now, but I went to the Price School of Public Policy, a master's in public policy and management, which kind of is what got me into the nonprofit world, because that was kind of a big push that they do at that school there. So kind of working around nonprofits and kind of all the different causes out there, social justice causes, everything. And there wasn't a lot of veteran causes out there. So I was kind of like, all right, let me see what I can do, And then a couple of years later, that's when I kind of got into it.
So by this time, are you still on reserve status when you were going through the master's program? Or were you, so you're not out, but you're now working full-time as a cop?
Not through the master's program. For the master's program, I was just doing reserve and the master's program. So the VA, would give me a paycheck to go to school. So I had the GI Bill, which was nice. I wasn't living a lavish life. My mission at that time was just to get my degree and do as good as possible. And, I ended up becoming the president of the class and kind of like leading from the front there, which was nice. It gave me a new purpose, and definitely, and some of the trips I did after that really helped, because after that I worked with ambassadors, I worked with embassies in different countries, and being able to talk about, certain things that I learned and all that really helped me like talk to people. So.
And was that class mostly veterans or all veterans?
No, I was the only one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I joined the International Public Policy and Management Program, IPAM, because of all my trips overseas and because of how my unit worked. We work overseas with people. We're a force multiplier. We work with different embassies. We work with, I've been to Bangladesh twice, Kenya, like I said, Croatia, all over the country. All over the world. There's so many different places. It's taking me a second to think about it, but I wanted to learn more about international stuff rather than domestic. So that's kind of where I focused on.
Because the reason why I asked that is because I know with the Marshall program, it's actually marketed to veterans. Was this program also marketed to veterans, or did you just happen to stumble across it?
I just stumbled across it. Yeah, so I applied for it after the fact, So I learned that there was programs for veterans in the master's field, in policy and business that the GI Bill covered. Mine was not covered by the GI Bill. Only 50% of it was. So, to this day, I'm still paying for it. And looking back, it could have been free. I'm like, oh man, really should have did my research. I was just happy to get accepted to a program there, So the non-serious reason I wanted to go to USC is because I grew up a USC football fan. And I just wanted to be like a legit fan. I was like, I applied for one master's program, one only. Just like with the police department, I applied to one police department only. Like when I know I want something, I want it, and I'm going to do everything I can to get it. So
hey, you got your motivation, and it worked. You got you've got the piece of paper that says USC. Not a lot of people have that.
Yeah, and then it's great. So my son's mom, my ex-wife, she went to USC too. So he's we'll see where he goes.
UCLA.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure that's going to be a teenager thing to do.
Could be worse. Could want to go to Notre Dame.
Oh, you know what? I'm good with that. I'm good with that. If he wants to go to Notre Dame.
So what year are you fully out of the Army, now working full-time law enforcement?
2020.
And let's start going down your entrepreneurial route. You've got a lot of different entities under you. There's your operational athlete. There's hard to kill fitness. There's, is it lift, fight, shoot?
Yeah. So that's our official model for operational athlete. So it's kind of a backup page for me. But that's the official model of the company, of me. That's kind of my outlook on being operational, being able to fulfill those three things. Some guys are, just great in the gym, but they can't shoot. Some guys are great in the gym and can shoot, but can't fight. So when I think of military law enforcement, I think that those three entities are super important, and they should be something that every guy knows how to do, and knows how to do above average. if not just average. Like, but at some point, obviously you're going to be a better shooter than a fighter at some point, or depending, you're not going to be the best in everything, So just being able to practice all those.
Definitely want to get your take on that in the law enforcement aspect of putting additional time into training. And we'll get down that path in a little bit. Which was the first one to come about?
Operational athlete. So November 2017, I'd been like doing all these workouts that were unconventional. So I wanted to see if people liked them. So I was like, let me start a page. I had a personal page and everybody really liked it and commented. And I was like, and I saw these other people that had their like fitness pages. And I was like, let me start something. And
you can keep going.
Yeah, I was like, let me start something.
Lights acting up.
And see if people like it. Because I was like, maybe I can open a gym one day, and something like that, and maybe have a backup plan. And I started that, and it kind of took off. And maybe a year down the line, I got hooked up with Hard to Go Fitness. They brought me on as like a lead advisor to their programming. And then Virtus Outdoors picked me up to kind of be a part of their programming and all that too, and what they're doing. And
all of that came though from you just deciding I'm going to start putting out exercise videos or fitness videos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exercise and just like motivational content. Like wanted to motivate people to get off their ass pretty much. I wanted to motivate people in law enforcement, people in the military, because not everybody's like in great shape out there, and like when I think about it, like it's not about you when it comes down to it. It's very selfish to let yourself go. It truly is. And that's how I view it. So I wanted to try to motivate people somehow to get in some sort of shape, to make sure that you're there for your partner, you're there for your brothers, you're there for the citizens, and you're there for yourself and your family. And I'd seen guys around town or whatever, or in my service that didn't really think in that same mindset, and it bothered me. So I was like, let me see what I could do through a page. Maybe I can influence people.
I'm glad you said it again, because I've heard you say it before. And I think it's, in my opinion, especially for law enforcement, it's a great motivator. It's, yes, you need to take care of yourself, but your mindset should be, am I doing enough to make sure my partners go home at the end of the shift? And putting that emphasis on taking care of somebody else should be an even greater importance to you.
Yeah. And I've had the opportunity to speak at some academy graduations and stuff like that, or at their like use of force day, whatever you call it, and talk to some of these kids and tell them that like it's not about you. It's about you and the guy next to you, their family, your family, and hopefully that gets to some people. Because I've buried brothers, and I've seen their families, I've seen their children cry, I've seen their wives cry, I've held them, and it's a shitty feeling. It truly is, and I don't wish that upon anybody. But if there is an opportunity for you to not have to go through that, for you to change that, and all it takes is an hour a day, 30 minutes a day, I don't care if it's 10 minutes a day, doing something, being a little faster, a little stronger, a little better at shooting, a little better at fighting, or just mentality, that's, you can alter that 2-year-old's life that just lost his dad, that 8-year-old's life, who's going to have to grow up without him. Maybe you can, maybe you can't, maybe it's just inevitable, maybe it's a stray bullet, maybe it's just a lucky shot. But if it's a fight and this guy's getting his gun because you don't know what to do, I know I couldn't live with myself. So
no, that's a huge thing to bring up, is that, yes, there are going to be those circumstances where there was nothing you could do,
yeah.
But it would be horrible to live with yourself, to have to look in the mirror each day and go, I could have done a little bit more.
Yeah, I couldn't keep up on the foot pursuit, so finally when I jumped the fence, he was there by himself, and, I could have been there with him if I was this much faster, if I was in this better shape, if I, wasn't drinking so much and eating so bad, nothing against those guys. I get it. It is what it is. Maybe people suffer from depression, stuff like that, and maybe that's what they're affected by, and that's why they're in this state. Maybe they've had injuries, but there's always something you can do, I think, to improve yourself.
What was the motivation to start Ruck for Vets?
Brotherhood. I truly missed it. And nothing against, my PD family, but it just wasn't the same. It wasn't the same brotherhood that I had when I was on a team, when I was in the military. I needed to feel like I was still a part of it. And I also wanted to give back any way I could to, I guess, kind of do the same thing, motivate people to get up, throw a rucksack on, and just go for a walk. If you're depressed, you have PTSD, you have anxiety, if you're angry, maybe you and the wife got in an argument, just taking a walk. It's the same thing. Ruck, walk, run. I don't care. It's all the same to me. Just getting outside, getting those feet moving, and it helped me so much, just getting up in the morning and going for a run or going for a ruck really helped me mentally. So that's kind of our vision is now that we're officially a 501c3, I have a board full of military vets, and I've worked with these guys. I've helped these guys. They've helped me. They're giving me this brotherhood. It's to get people out there in the world, whether it's rucking, working out, just brotherhood in general, hanging out, talking. We go on these rucks, like you get with a guy, you and me go on a ruck, we're going to talk the whole time. Not going to put our heads down and not talk. So we're going to talk and talk about things that we did in the military, things that we did after, maybe some things that are bothering us. My guys open up to me because I open up to them. Maybe some guys aren't the same, but it helps just to walk next to a brother pretty much. Like I'll walk beside you at all times,
What did it take to actually get it up and going, and what did it take to actually become an official nonprofit organization?
So for the first 5 years, we were really just a fundraising element. So I was coordinating these events, these ruck marches once a year. Nothing crazy, but I would partner with organizations like the Green Beret Foundation or Special Force Foundation, Mission 22, others. And
you were doing it all by yourself?
By myself, and then eventually with my girlfriend, and then, brought some friends in to help out and stuff like that. But now I have the board, so I can lean on them. But yeah, primarily by myself. And then last year I was lucky to partner up with Alpha Elite Performance, and they really helped out a lot. We raised like $16,000 last year. It was awesome. But yeah, the first 5 years we were fundraising element. So I just coordinated these events, and the money would get funneled directly into the nonprofits I was working with. So I was more of an event organizer, I guess. And people approached me last year actually, and they're like, you should make this official, man. Like make it a thing, do it around the country. And I was like, I should. So yeah, I applied for the nonprofit and filled out all the paperwork for the state and sent it in. And this year will be the first year where we get to build our own cause, I guess. So with that being said, I want to do more events. I want to do more free workouts for vets. I want to do more classes. I'd just be able to rent out a hall and have people come in and talk about the VA and talk about, benefits, stuff like that. Talk about your VA home loan, talk about GI Bill, get guys motivated that may be struggling. And then I'm also working to do a rucksack program. So I'm going to have 2 sets of rucksacks that I can give out to people. So one's going to be for maybe that guy that freshly got out, it's going to have maybe a fresh pair of boots in it, new rucksack. It's going to have some information on the VA. It's going to have some supplements from one of our sponsors. It's going to have some workout bands from one of our sponsors, kind of like a wellness kit for this guy. And we're going to send it out to vets that, meet the criteria or are in need. And then on the other end, we're going to have a rucksack that, comes from like more of a donated aspect. People donate their old sacks or some newer boots, and we can fill this with, toiletry items, hygiene items, food items, VA, and veterans assistance items, and then give these out to homeless vets that may be going through their own thing, because some guys choose to live that life, but maybe we can just make it that much easier for them and see that there's people out there helping them, so those are the 2 projects I really want to work on with Ruck for Vets.
Now, the annual event, is it held in the same place every year, or to this point, has it been in the same place every year?
Every year, but last year, yeah. So every year, held in Redondo Beach, California. Last year we did it in Montgomery, Texas. So from here on out, moving forward, at least this year will be the first year. We're going to be doing it in Redondo Beach in May around Memorial Day. And then in September in Montgomery, Texas, we'll be doing it again. And as the organization grows, I'm looking for directors, for individuals to take a leadership role in their local veteran community and try to expand this to every state if we can. I got guys in Florida I want to talk to, as things progress, to create a Ruck for Vets Florida, director of operations Florida, bring them on the board. That way we have more oversight too. We're 100%, nobody's making any money off this. So we're 100% donated, no matter what. So guys that are willing to continue that selfless service that we had in the military, that we have in PD, and just pretty much organize events, like we'll do the groundwork here, but just help us get the people really when it comes down to it.
And how long is the event as far as the Ruck Walk?
So it varies in length. The first year, oh man, the death march. Because like it's not all vets, it's community, and then that's another reason behind it is I wanted the community to be involved with these veterans and the veterans to know that people support them. So we get people of all shapes and sizes, ages, whatever. And the first year we did like a 12-mile death march, and I was leading it, and I was kind of stepping it out. And next day, everybody's feet are just raw, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, guys. Like this is what I'm used to. So the next year we brought it down from 12 miles to.
You probably didn't even notice that you were pushing everybody so hard.
Yeah, no, I did not. The next year we brought it down to like I think 10, and then slowly been bringing it down like 6 miles, and now it's kind of like a 5K. This year we're going to be doing like a 4-miler, just over 4 miles. And that'll probably be the set course moving forward, from Redondo Beach Pier to Hermosa Beach Pier and back. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at now, just because I want to get, it's not a race. It's a community event. It's a group event. It's a brotherhood. So we walk as a unit, and you can only move as fast as your slowest unit. So, if grandma's out there, we're walking with grandma, and we're going to all finish as a unit. And then we do like a raffle at the end. A bunch of companies have donated throughout the years, Tour Knives, being one of them, Trauma Pack, Virtus Outdoors, thankful for these people that donate things. Hard to Kill Fitness, donates every year. So we get to do a raffle after. And this year we're going to do it at the VFW Hall in Redondo Beach, 2828. I'm on the board there. So we're going to have some tacos and elote, man, and do a raffle and have a good time, some live music. So it's going to be fun. It's a great community event. And this year I got a surprise for everybody. It's going to be fun. Maybe,
not another 12-mile march though, right?
No, but we might be carrying something along the way, and everyone's going to have to pitch in and help carry this thing. That might be heavy.
Is it wood and round?
No. Yeah. Well, so we'll see. We'll see how many people actually pay attention and listen to this. So we're going to be carrying a litter, a litter with poles, and we're going to have probably like 100 pounds of sandbags on there wrapped in an American flag. And this is going to be, a tribute to our brothers, that aren't able to go on this ruck with us. They're going to be walking with us. So I'm going to expect everybody to pitch in and help us carry this 100-pound litter for the 4.5 miles that we're doing. So it's
that's very cool.
It's only growing. It's going to be fun. And everybody flies flags when we do it. It's pretty cool. If you check out the Instagram, I'm sure you have, and you see all the way down the street, people carrying flags. It's so awesome.
You get, obviously you get good community support while you're out there.
Yeah. I mean, people are honking, people are waving, clapping for us, because we're walking on the Strand for a lot of it. You got the volleyball players out there, everybody clapping, like, thank you guys for your service. And it's nice for those that served to see the support, maybe those that didn't serve to see the support. And it's just a reminder to people that we're still out here, guys are out here, and maybe they're struggling. Maybe a thank you will go a lot further than you think. Maybe that guy is on his last leg that day, and a thank you or a phone call or a text saved him.
And you've hit on this, but I just want to make sure it's clear. You don't have to be a veteran to participate in the event.
No, absolutely. This is community. So it's veterans, law enforcement, first responders, whoever. I want everyone out there, because, and how I look at it is, like my vets get out there, and even with my Veteran Tuesday workouts, I call them Veteran Tuesdays because it started with veterans, but now it's community. So I have anybody who wants to come get a free workout with us, come get a free workout with us. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays, we're out there. Me and Boom, it's your boy Will Jones. We're always out there.
Like, so. You don't have enough going on in your life already.
Yeah, it's just an hour. It's an hour workout, and I'm going to be doing it anyway, and at this point right now with my injuries, I'm kind of more of a coach, but I'm still out there. I'm still showing up for people. And I like for my vets to talk to people in the community, that maybe have never heard a story, never heard about this guy's time in Iraq or Afghanistan, and they get to hear it. And, maybe they have a family member they haven't reached out to in a while, and they're like, maybe it reminds them. And like I said, that phone call, that text could just change it, so it's education for the community, and it's an opportunity for my vets to talk with people that, maybe want to learn, maybe want to listen.
The workouts, they're always at the beach, I believe.
Yeah, for the most part. Once the gym gets up and running, we'll probably throw something there. Depending on the weather, maybe we'll do it in the garage. I got a group of vets that come over to my house 3 times a week right now, and we just work out in the garage. So kind of depending, but for the most part at the beach, yeah, it's an easier place to get a bunch of people going. So,
and on top of all this, you also do, like, is it first responder training, shooting, that type stuff? You also involved with that?
So I don't necessarily train people with firearms in person yet. It's something I definitely am interested in doing. But, working with Mike Levy and Jerry and Ronnie and those guys, we kind of have a team that we developed, Travis Kennedy, Kawa, and we pretty much just put content out there for guys to learn, drills out there for guys to learn. Because a lot of people hit me up like, hey, do you have any drills? I'm going to the range today. I'm like, hey, just take a look at the page, dude. There's just a bunch of drills we've done on there, or I'll give them some, depending on how much time I have. But, it's more than just a flat range, like we try to diversify it. And each one of these guys is so amazingly talented at instruction and at shooting. Like I learn daily. I'm down here compared to these guys, but we all have something we bring to the table, I do a lot of the shoot and move stuff, and they're really good with everything they do. So like we learn and we try to put out good content and non-biased content, like there's no egos when we go to train with each other. It's, each one of us will probably run a drill and whatever it is, we're like, okay, cool, let's do it. Let's all do it. There's no argument, there's educated conversations about different tactics and stuff like that. And what we've learned over the years, because there's a big difference between how a special forces unit and how a SWAT team or a police department run things, in a house. So it's, we got to tailor the content we put out to kind of everybody. And, we'll talk about it like, this isn't necessarily how you would do it for PD. Maybe it's gonna be a lot slower, so, but this is maybe for you guys who are working in a SWAT team or a special force element, something like that. But, it's training through social media and the internet, which is an awesome tool. I know a lot of guys that get their drills from YouTube and stuff like that. And I'm one of them,
So taking a brief step back, Ruck for Vets, what's the website?
Ruckforveterans.com.
And then Operational Athlete has its own website, correct?
Yep. Operationalathlete.us.
And through that website, you also do what I call personal training. You'll formulate workout plans for people.
Yeah. So, I will help people, veterans and all that. I'll do that, all the time. But like, as far as a company I'm involved with, that's Hard to Kill Fitness. Hard to Kill Fitness does programming, and, I get a discount to give out to people if they need it. But, the programming there is, designed for people who are trying to enter these fields, military, police, fire, stuff like that, or just want to get in maybe that kind of shape. So they have some amazing programs that I've done them all, and they're great. And the community there too, because it comes with like a Facebook page, all that, you get to join this and you get to work out beside people that aren't beside you. And I don't know, it's a great community. What they've formed is a great community of good people too.
Does Hard to Kill put together in-person group workouts?
No. So that's, it's just programming. So like the in-person group workouts, that's really just kind of like my thing, and that's kind of the veteran thing I do.
And Hard to Kill, the website for that one?
It's hardtokillfitness.us, I believe. I think they just changed it to .com. I'd have to look it up, to be honest.
And your workouts that you run, your Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, how would somebody find out about those? As far as, is it always at the exact same time every day, every week?
It varies, because if I want to get, maybe a new veteran that can't make it at that certain time, I'll try to alter it and let my guys know and see who's available. But, they can always reach out on social media. You can reach out through my website, through, the contact me, and I'll link you up with either me or with Will Jones, who does, the Thursday workouts, or if I can't make it on a Tuesday or Saturday, he's always going to be there. Great dude, always willing to backfill to help vets. And, if both of us can't make it, someone will be there from this local community that we've developed. So someone's going to be there for whoever wants to come.
Well, and I think that's the bigger aspect of it. The physical fitness is important, but the community of bringing veterans back together and that buddy check and getting everybody on the same page of, hey, let's work out together, but let's also be there for each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And like talking to guys in different states and around the country, I try to, I guess, encourage them to find those guys. They're out there. There are so many out there. There's so many from this generation and the one prior and the current. And there's so many people out there that maybe need that brotherhood, so just listen. I was having breakfast this morning and I overheard a Marine talking about his deployments, and visiting, the mother of a buddy he lost, And, I just wanted to make sure I just said something, and just, we talked about it real quick. I gave my card and said, if anybody needs anything that, including yourself, feel free to reach out. So, and that's all you could do is make the contact, create the conversation, and you never know. Like my barber is the one who hooked me up with Will Jones. He was my first vet to come work out with me. And then from there, it's grown to, like 30 plus here just in the local community alone, let alone people that fly in or are visiting that want to join us. It's a huge network. So just paying attention to your guys, or just paying attention to your operational environment, wherever you're at, they're there. So maybe just stopping a guy and saying, hey, were you in? Who'd you serve with? Oh, me too. Yeah. Just having a quick conversation. And maybe there's gonna be like, maybe you're going to tell you to piss off, and it is what it is. And maybe you're going to be friends with that dude for the rest of your life,
Or you may find out that one day, like you said, he needed somebody to talk to him. And if you had walked by and didn't say anything, who knows what could have happened.
Yep, absolutely.
So we talked about this a little bit earlier about your mental health journey. And
leave that there, sorry.
And how your son kind of was a huge factor in you kind of turning around. Have you dealt with the mental health aspect in the sense of counseling and that type of stuff?
Yeah. So I actively go to talk therapy every other week. It's sometimes I take a couple months off, whatever, it just depends on how I'm doing, things going on in life, but I try to make an effort to go to talk therapy. And that was something that I wasn't open to, that my ex-wife pushed on me at the time, and I guess I just wasn't ready. And I wouldn't say there's ever a time where you're really ready. You kind of just, when the time's right, the time's right, but, I go to talk therapy, and that was great. And, I've seen doctors, I've tried medications out, stuff like that. I've gone to meditation classes. I've done breath work with a friend, Shane Vitko. He's put me through some breath work with him, and I've kind of, retained some of that to help me in those stressful moments of my life. But it's something I'm aware of now, and it's something I'm working on. And I think that's really it, is to get a grasp on it however you can. Don't just let it go. Don't let it eat you up. You can't let it eat you up. You can't keep it to yourself either. One of my vets and good friend, actually, I call them my vets, but they're all good friends. Mario, like, we met at a bar, a local bar that we go to, just have a couple beers, shooting the shit, and same thing, oh, you're a vet? I'm a vet? Yeah, I started talking about things, and I kind of opened up to him about, yeah, man, I'm struggling. Like, it's been rough, like, going through this divorce, all this, I'm just, some days I don't even want to be here, and stuff like that. He's like, I'm like, obviously my son, and just talking about it feels good, man. Like, it's all right. And he opened up to me, and, since this day, we've been great friends, and, we constantly use each other as outlets, a phone call, or, hey man, can you meet up for a beer real quick? Yeah, absolutely, bro. Or you got time to talk? Yeah. And, that's kind of grown too into the other guys, it's, I think just being able to open up to family, open up to friends. And it's something I struggled with, because I was like, they don't know what I've been through. You haven't been there. You haven't been deployed. You haven't killed somebody. You haven't watched somebody die. You haven't been away from your family for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, year and a half. You got to get over that.
And that was the reason why I'm bringing this back around, is because obviously this podcast is about transition and preparing for your tomorrow, but it's also about taking care of yourself today. When you were active, I'm assuming there was still kind of a stigma related to saying, hey, I need to talk to somebody, or I need to ask for help. How do we get rid of that stigma?
Just like this, preaching it, talking about it. So, you're this big special forces guy, top of the food chain, like, you can't talk about your problems because, no, you're a killer, you're a badass, you can't talk about it with your boys. And then, oh, you're a police officer, you're tough, you're a man, you're the man of the house, you can't talk about your stuff. It's that John Wayneism. It's that generational thing. It comes from our parents, really. You're a man, suck it up, don't cry. Mm-hmm. And it's something that is on us to, I guess, talk to our kids about. Like, it's okay. Obviously there's being tough and all that, and there's lessons in life, but like, when it comes to things that are really bothering you, you need to talk about it. And, like, people that go through loss, they try to keep it in and stuff like that. And especially men, I'm like, man, let it go. It feels so much better. It feels so much better to just cry or just let it out or talk about it. So, yeah, we need to defeat that stigma. And it starts like this, by spreading a message. And it starts by us as men, as fathers, or as uncles, talking to those young men, those young women in our lives that maybe we see something's up, just trying to talk to them. And maybe it starts with us opening up first, and that's kind of how me and my buddy Mario became friends. Like I opened up first, and that gave him the opportunity to, my vulnerability allowed him to be vulnerable,
Our egos are a great thing to have because they drive us in our daily life and make us better. Our egos are also the worst thing we can have in our lives because it will hold us down. And like you talked about, you were living your life in a bottle. You were trying to deal with it yourself. No one we know who's tried to deal with it themselves has been successful.
Nope.
And reaching out to seek help is where it's got to start. And like you said, we just got to keep normalizing it. Just keep repeating the fact that it's okay. You're not a failure if you're asking for help.
Yep. And because if you don't, it's just going to eat you up. And then, one day you one day, I hope not. One day you may just make a bad decision, and whether that's, ending your life or driving drunk because you took the bottle out, possibly hurting somebody because you did that, or anger, that's only going to be negative on you. So just seeking help is going to help you no matter what. Stress is a killer. Like, people don't realize that, like, stress is a cancer. It's worse. It causes cancer. Like, it's worse. So just trying to get rid of that stress in your life through, whether it's exercise, talk therapy, just having a conversation, medication if need be, whatever it is, natural remedies, good diet, stuff like that. There's so many ways that you can help get rid of that stress that may ultimately be at the end of you.
So what's the future for you and your entities, your companies that you're involved with? Where do you see yourself going?
So we're working on opening a boxing gym right now, South Bay Boxing Club here in the Torrance area. So that's going to be an awesome opportunity to not only train like kids in the community, people in the community, veterans, law enforcement, give them some form of training, and I'll be bringing in like my style of training, my functional training that I got in Special Forces that I continue to use today. So that's kind of a plan for us, and to eventually maybe turn that into something where we help inner city kids, give them, free tuition at the gym, stuff like that. And I'll just continue to be a force multiplier pretty much. And then now with the nonprofit, continue growing with that, with this new year, with these rucksack programs and all that. I want to, like I said, grow to every state if I can. If I can have a representative from every state, that would be amazing. Like, help one person a day, you could change the world, man. You really can, and if we all had that mentality, it's great, be a little bit less selfish and a little bit more selfless.
I think that nothing more can be said other than that. So I appreciate your time.
No, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much. It's great.
I appreciate you watching. But before you go, if you like the video, please hit that subscribe button. Also, any comments are appreciated. Thank you.